Look, Keir Starmer's Britain is on the brink. We're in despair. We don't know what to do. The political class are completely oblivious. We've got to stop people coming into our country who are coming here to harm us. These people supposedly came to our country seeking refuge. We opened our doors, took these people in, and they have attacked us. This is the biggest insult to the nation. And I'll tell you what I have heard in Parliament, right?
Hello and welcome to the Daily Expresso. We're with Esther McVey, our very own Westminster Whisperer and the Tory MP. Esther, there's been huge outrage this week over an attempted beheading.
Look, Keir Starmer's Britain is on the brink. Belfast is burning. There's protests from Southampton to Epping to Glasgow to Edinburgh. People are saying, Starmer, you're not listening to us. The catastrophic consequences of illegal immigration, and you are not doing enough. And of course, people know it's wrong to satellite their local communities, wrong to attack police. But they're saying, we've asked you, we've told you, we've warned you, Starmer, but you have done nothing. What do we need to do to get your attention, to listen to what is happening to us? We're in despair. We don't know what to do. The political class are completely oblivious to what is going on in our local communities with illegal immigrants. And that horrific attack in northern Belfast, I'll call it a medieval attack, where a Sudanese man almost beheaded a local resident, Stephen Ogilvy, who's now in hospital fighting for his life, having lost his left eye, his right eye, serious injuries to it, stab wounds, and they're saying it's life-changing injuries that he has got. I mean, this is the savagery, the brutality of that attack really is unheard of. This just cannot be accepted in Great Britain, and we've got to stop people coming into our country who are coming here to harm us, not help us.
Because it is the latest in quite a long list, a growing list of violence by people who aren't British.
Well, let's go back and look at some of the horrific things that have happened from, first of all, another Sudanese asylum seeker, Deng Majek. And this was the horrific case. Rhiannon White was working in an asylum centre, and he violently killed her, stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver. And then he went back to the hostel after he'd committed this crime and was celebrating, right? You've got Healey. This was somebody else. He was a Somali national, and he went into a bank and stabbed a man to death. You've got Hadish Kabatu, and this really was the start of the Pink Ladies demonstration, and he, sexually attacked, assaulted and raped 2 young girls and a woman. And then you've also got the Malarkey asylum seeker, and he again attacked, and again another sexual attack, raped a 12-year-old. So people are saying these people supposedly came to our country seeking refuge, a tolerant country like Great Britain. We opened our doors, took these people in, and they have attacked us. And we cannot have that.
And there's a stat, 1 in 6 foreign nationals are claiming universal credit. So foreigners are coming and being treated very well.
And I think there's different things that is just like adding insult to injury, rubbing salt in the wound of British citizens. So you see all these different stats and facts. So whether it's people claiming benefits, whether it's asylum seekers in hotels being paid for when the rest of the country is really trying really hard to pay their bills. And on top of that, they see the stupidity of the political class and also the legal class, so that you get somebody like Sahib Abu, who was an ISIS terrorist, right? He was put into prison and then he was radicalizing other prisoners. So they put him into solitary confinement. He then takes a human rights case about his rights, that he had a sort of mental anguish and shouldn't have been separated and put in solitary confinement. And he won the case. And people are saying, oh my, how stupid is this sort of elite class that they are time and again, whether it's giving out benefits, whether it's giving out sort of, looking at their human rights above and beyond British citizens' human rights. And that is what is upsetting people so much. And I'll add this, which I know will get everybody's blood boiling. David Lammy now is wanting to appoint a lady called Lynn Berry, an academic, and she will be choosing who our judges are for this country. And when asked, I guess you'll be appointing people only on merit or purely on merit. And she's like, no, diversity is really important. No, it is the EDI. It is this diversity mentality. It is this racism commitments that we've got, which says, no, you shouldn't be colourblind. That is causing the issues. And it's like the political class have learnt nothing. And that's why the country is up in arms.
And you mentioned David Lammy, the Justice Secretary there. But what about Starmer? What do you think about his approach to this?
Well, he's just in denial. And people say, he said all the right things coming into office.
They always do.
They always do. I'm going to smash the gangs. I'm going to take a firm line. But we've seen him do nothing really. And all we do know, the first thing he did when coming into office was get rid of the Rwanda scheme. Even the National Crime Agency said that would be a deterrent. In fact, it was already acting as a deterrent at the time, and he got that on day one. So was he ever really planning to smash the gangs and stop people coming into this country? Was he ever really that, being a human rights lawyer, was he just really going to speed up their access into this country? And the reason I say politicians should have known that the country was really on a tipping point, really was upset. Going back to 2023, I remember in Knowsley, in Liverpool, protests happening outside an asylum centre there because they had been approaching inappropriately young teenagers. And these are sort of working class areas who basically said, we're not going to put up with that. You cannot do that to our girls. And the reason I mention working class areas, because that's really where these asylum seekers are being housed. Why? Because it's a cheaper part of the country, so they're being housed there. And these working class people are saying, well, we don't really feel we've got a recourse. The political elite don't listen to us. So that's why they've taken, wrongly so, but you can understand why, the law into their own hands. So that was going back to 2023. And then, as I said, you knew about the Bell Hotel in Epping, the Pink Ladies, them saying, we are fearful for our young girls, we're fearful for our women because of these asylum seekers who don't understand our culture, don't understand our language, don't understand it is inappropriate to go out after our young girls, and you are making our communities unsafe.
And this is something that Jim Allister spoke quite powerfully about this week.
Oh, I'm a fan of Jim Allister. He is a Northern Ireland MP, an Ulster MP. He's also a barrister. And he said very clearly, straight talking guy. I like that, actually. And it's about time politics had a little bit more straight talking. He said, what will be done to stop the importation of an alien country, an alien culture that thinks it is appropriate to behead someone in the streets? The replying Labour minister, which was Hilary Benn, said, what do you mean by alien culture? He seemed to be affronted by the words that Jim Allister used, not affronted by the near beheading of somebody on the streets of Belfast, but those words. And that shows you that this Labour Party, this government, really is not going to bring about the change that is required.
Which makes me believe, what are people going to think that they have to do to be heard?
Well, that's why you've seen these demonstrations. That's why you're seeing the tempo going up and up and up. And that's why who knows what's going to happen in the summer. But so long and forever, I should say, that politicians put their finger in their ears and don't listen. For whilst ever they don't put in place systems that will stop illegal immigrants coming into the country, I can only see the population getting more and more angry, particularly when they have promised change and yet have never delivered it.
You might have noticed I like to wear this gold watch, gold bangle and gold wedding ring. Gold is physical. It can't be hacked, digitally manipulated or printed into existence by governments. That's why I'm backing today's sponsor, the Pure Gold Company, which helps people buy UK minted gold coins like Britannia's and Sovereigns tax-free, and they've built a really strong reputation for their no-pressure approach and expert guidance. Now, they were even voted the UK's best gold broker. So if you want to understand more about buying physical gold and whether it's right for you, download their free guide to buying gold at the link below. By the way, mention my name, JJ, and for 6 months, you'll get secure storage for free. And also remember, the value of gold can rise as well as fall. So if you're not sure about investing, please do seek independent advice.
And speaking about, as you said earlier, promising change, tens of thousands of illegal migrants have arrived under Starmer. The small boat crisis is out of control.
Yes, so we've had 200,000 illegal immigrants come here since 2018, but 78,000 roughly since Starmer was in office. And it is our porous borders. So they're coming over in boats, they're coming over in vehicles, they're coming over in transit vans. They could be overstaying their visas. And now we've seen the abuse of what is called the common travel areas. And that's how you can go from the Republic of Ireland into Northern Ireland into the UK. And this now is a problem as well. And we have to ask how, and this is this Sudanese guy, how did he get all the way from Sudan, and then he came to Egypt, and then he got a flight to France, and then he got on, a flight then across to Dublin, from Paris to Dublin, and then a bus. How did nobody stop him along the way? Now, I know there's fake ID that people are using, but it seems strange to me that nobody stopped him. Yet we also hear now on TikTok, because they've seen this common travel area as a weakness into the UK, they're now advertising it. Come across via this route, £7,000 and we'll give you fake ID. And those are adverts up now on TikTok.
The thing that struck me is, believe this or not, Esther, I was shocked by this. Just one asylum seeker has been returned from the UK back to the Republic of Ireland since 2020.
Well, that's not possible, is it? I mean, that is just ludicrous. That's what I'm saying. They are not really controlling what is going on. And when you look at the numbers, when they say we're going to get the backlogs down for asylum-seeking cases, what that usually means is we're going to wave people into this country. What they need to do is say, there is a backlog there, we're going to be strong, we're going to be strict, you're not coming in. And when you take an appeal, we don't say we collapse on appeals and in you come because we're frightened of appeal. No, we say we need to detain and deport. We need to be able to say no to you and remove you, and that is not happening.
But it's that backlog issue that caused this problem. So in 2023, there was a bit of a peak, and 62,000 asylum applications were granted in that year alone. That is the peak for the last 5 years. And that's the same way where this Sudanese suspect came into the country with not even a face-to-face interview. He just filled in a questionnaire, apparently.
And this is what we need to learn from countries like Australia, who's managed to get their immigration, particularly illegal immigration, down. Yes, they're doing offshore processing, which we need to do, which Rwanda would have helped doing. Then, that's what is essential. Then they have extensive security checks, not this, fill in a questionnaire or a little conversation with somebody. That's not good enough. And then they can do mandatory detention, and they've got strong powers to refuse visas on character grounds. We need to have this whole spectrum of ways to say you are not allowed into this country. Because what people have said, and I've said this for a long period of time, and I think it's really important now that we've had an intervention from Jonathan Hall. He's known as the sort of terror watchdog, and that's what he's in charge of it now. And he's saying all these people coming into our country is now a national security risk. And we need to understand the countries they are coming from. So they might have been a part of brutality. They might have seen brutality. They could have been part of an army. We don't know who they are. And they are coming into this country, bringing with them that mindset. That is what is so dangerous. So to have beheadings on the street, we're not used to this. So when Jim Allister said, alien culture, it was alien. I know Hilary Benn, the Labour Northern Ireland Secretary of State, didn't know that, but this is not what you'd expect in a Christian British society, a Christian British country. And that's what he's raising the issue. And we've got to talk about this. These people have been a part of, seen things that we could never even dream about. So they are maybe traumatised, definitely brutalised, but they're bringing it into the UK. And that's why they should be stopped. And that's why a tick box exercise is nowhere near good enough to understand their psychology.
It's fascinating because Mr. Hall's comments are quite different to those of Neil Basu, who's the former counter-terrorist chief, who said the biggest threat is far-right stoking action.
Right, this is the biggest insult to the nation when people dismiss, and this is also what's upset people and got people out into the streets, when their genuine concerns are dismissed either as far-right or dismissed by saying we're calling for unity. You need to, come together and have unity. This is like blaming the public for what's going on and for politicians not taking any responsibility for their inaction.
Right, a quick pause in the podcast to tell you about our sponsor, Incogni. You had those phone calls from numbers you don't recognise, or you go in your inbox and there's emails for stuff you did not sign up for. Well, that's because someone somewhere is selling your private information. That's where today's sponsor comes in, Incogni. They will contact these people who have been taking your information and they'll say, oi, stop, delete it. Go to the website, incogni.com, you type in the details, 2 minutes later, Incogni are sorting it out for you automatically. And because I love you, I've got you a discount. It ain't 10%, it ain't 20, 60% off. 60% off an annual Incogni plan. Just go to incogni.com/Daily Expresso or click the link in the episode description box below.
Do you know, this leads me to think, Es, that it's just far too easy to get into the UK. And do you know that 39% of initial refused asylum claims are successfully overturned in court? Once the Home Office, usually the day before a hearing, the Home Office gives in, as you mentioned, referred to earlier. So 66% of appeals refused are ultimately granted in the end.
And what's that? Why should we be so weak? I mean, it has always been a chant of the sort of left-leaning, oh, the rights of the, immigrants, oh, it's cruel to keep them sort of detained, they need to know an answer. But that has invariably meant they've wafted them into the country. And the Home Office and the courts always found it easier to say yes than no. And I'm saying now we need to say no. Now that the terror watchdog, Jonathan Hall has said it is a national security risk. He also said Donald Trump had brought this to people's attention. Yes, sometimes his rhetoric is rather explosive. Sometimes he says things the wrong way, but he did highlight a truth, a truism. And when I look as well at some of these statistics for who we've let into the country, and that's why we've got to do this, foreign nationals accounted for 1 in 7 of sexual offence convictions in 2024. That's including rapes there. And then crime by foreigners has increased at faster rates and charge of conviction in 2021 to 2024 than British nationals. And when we look at some of the different things, so sexual offences for foreign nationals, it was up 62%. For Brits, it was up 39%. And then if I look at drugs, which I thought was particularly interesting, foreign convictions up 11%. Actually, Brits was down 4%. And possession of weapons foreign convictions up 10%, Brits down by 1%. So we have let criminals into the country. We have let a criminal element into the country, criminality into the country, and it is making us weaker and causing danger on our streets. We've got some of the facts here. I know the government has tried to hide the data. It does not want to collect the data on immigration status, nationality, religious status, but from the facts we've got, it is now proving that we are endangering ourselves by not having stricter criteria for immigrants, and particularly by not stopping illegal immigration.
We've spoken about national security, and we've had the inevitable resignation of Defence Secretary John Healey.
Oh, absolutely, because he was waiting for the defence investment plan. He knew that the top military was saying they needed 28 billion to make the country secure as it was. They knew that. We heard from Rachel Reeves, she was only planning to give 13 billion. She didn't know how she was going to pay for it. She was possibly going to put taxes up. We heard that in PMQs this week. And a brilliant line from Kemi Badenoch was, it seems this Labour Party has got a benefits plan. It knows what it's going to spend, 200 billion by the end of the decade, but it hasn't got a defence plan. And so this was an inevitability. And now that we know, with illegal immigrants in this country and national security risk, so some of that money actually should be spent on home defence, not just defence abroad, and we know what's going on around the world, but on home defence, we needed that money. So John Healey has said, because there has been arguments in government, I cannot really do my role when I don't have the support of the Prime Minister. The biggest issue of the day, defence of the realm, biggest thing a country should be doing, defence of the realm. I have not got the support of either you or the Chancellor. And I'll tell you what I have heard in Parliament, right? Ed Miliband has got £60 billion, which he's wanting to invest in net zero. I believe, and I've heard it from very good sources, that Starmer was hoping to get some of that money for the Defence Investment Plan from the net zero department, from Ed Miliband, who has said no, because he thinks net zero, because he is like a net zero zealot, he thinks the money should be spent there. And that, I think, has probably been why John Healey has said enough is enough. You're spending that on net zero, you can spend it there, but you're not giving it to me when we know you should.
And it's worth highlighting that this is all happening. This is a massive resignation for the Prime Minister days before a massive by-election on Thursday in Makerfield.
And I actually think I think we're going to both say this at exactly the same time. This could actually spin that Makerfield by-election around, because I would have said at the time Andy Burnham was going to win. And I'll tell you for why I felt Andy Burnham was going to win, because his statement to the people it was basically this: vote for me, get rid of Starmer. Everybody hates Starmer. His polling rate is minus 68% with the public. So that line to go out knocking on doors, vote for me, I'm the only person who can get rid of Starmer, was really resonating. So I thought, yes, he will win. However, because now the issue is about illegal immigration, about the near beheading of a man on the streets of Belfast, people are saying, but the Labour Party haven't got any solutions for illegal migration. I know Burnham right now is actually toughening up his stance. He's saying we need to do more. He's looking at things like that, but that isn't really his background. That isn't really where he's from. But Reform have always been strong on this. Immigration is their probably key issue, and obviously it is tight, and people have said it's a two-horse race between Reform and Andy Burnham. So maybe this, what is going on, this resignation of the Defence Secretary, could spin that by-election. However, the only thing I will say that's also making it difficult on the ground, Restore, Rupert Lowe's party, which again is even stronger on immigration, talking for sort of mass deportations, talking for deporting. They are splitting the vote there of reform, coming maybe up to 6-7%. I was speaking to Rupert Lowe yesterday. He's saying he thinks it's far higher than that. I don't know. He was saying, oh, he didn't see many Labour people on the doorsteps. I don't think that's true either. I know, because the Labour MPs aren't in the House. The votes yesterday only had 268 of something of them. So 150 are definitely knocking on doors in Makerfield. But yes, this could be a pivotal moment for that by-election.
Never a dull day in politics. Thank you so much, Esther McVey, and thank you so much to you at home. Please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the hype button.